Shalom. It is the end of the Sabbath, of the Shabbat. We're about an hour, almost an hour from Shabbat, from the sunset in this time zone. Eastern time zone. Just going to set up my books here so I can prop up my laptop. Forgot to do that in advance, so if you would excuse me. Okay. All right, so still working on the lighting issues. Okay, so I'm continuing on from where we left off yesterday. I was on the title of this video. And we left off at the preeminence of Mashiach. Colossians chapter 1, verses 15 to 17. That's referenced here. And also I wanted to say Rosh Chodesh Tov. Happy new moon. It's now the new month. I believe it's the 12th month. The first day of the 12th month is right now. Can't sight the moon from where I am. It's too cloudy. Okay. In view of the fact that all of life originates with Mashiach, we should be able to see the reasonableness of admitting his ownership of us. We ought to discern we ought to discern the inescapable conclusion that he is entitled to enfold us with his loving care and concern. We should recognize the fact that he is fully and uniquely qualified to manage us with a skill and understanding far surpassing our own. In spite of all of this, he does not insist on imposing himself upon us. He does not override our wills. He refuses to rush into our experience by gate crashing his way over our decisions. Having made us in his own likeness. That's the evening prayer. Just do a prayer online. I don't normally do this, but did this one time. We'll pray based on the Beatitudes. I don't have my other Bible here, so I'm going to have to just go off the King James, unfortunately. Just loading it up. And if you would like to join me in prayer, if you could please either kneel or lie down on your stomach, whatever works for you. But either one would be good and pleasing and acceptable. So, all right. So Matthew, I'm going to read the Beatitudes. Matthew chapter 5. Just turn that over. Maybe I'll just put it that way. There you go. And he opened his mouth, Yeshua, and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Happy are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Happy are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Happy are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Happy are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Happy are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of Elohim. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Abba, Father, thank you for this Shabbat, for commanding us to rest. Thank you for this new month that we are able to see by the sighting of the moon, that we can keep your calendar according to your holy words, that we can live to see a new month, the 12th month now, and we're getting closer and closer to your spring Moedim, Pesach, and the Chag Hamatzo, the Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread, and of course Shavuot, Pentecost. Father, blessed is your name, for you are holy, you are set apart, you are full of mercy, you are quick to forgive, you bear with our sins, with our weaknesses, even though we do try, but many times we fail, but please look on our hearts and test our hearts and strengthen our resolve to to always come to you with a broken heart and a broken spirit, a contrite heart, knowing that we deserve the death penalty for sinning against you and sinning against our fellow man. We just ask that you forgive us. Help us to forgive those who sin against us, and help us to even to forgive ourselves, that we can forget the past and move forward following the footsteps of your Mashiach, Yeshua. I pray that this study, this reading, this newsletter will be beneficial to those listening to it, and that they will continue to grow in your grace, to stir up the spirit within us to do what you want us to do, to say what you want us to say, to think what you want us to think, not do what we want to do, the flesh wants us to do, but to be guided by the Spirit and to walk in the Spirit. If we submit wholeheartedly and submit all evil, carnality, our fleshly thoughts and words and ways and doings, but instead replace them with what is right, what is right in your eyes, to say your words, to obey you from the heart, to love you truly, and to forsake their sin, to confess them to you, to tell our souls that we will no longer walk after the Spirit, but let the Holy Spirit, let the set apart Spirit of you, Abba, rule over all our lusts, to control our eyes and our tongues, to control our hands from evil, but to refrain from those things, but not only to stop, but to do what is good, to look on the things that are lovely, to say the words that will encourage people, to do the actions so people can see we're lights, to do good works, which is helping people in need when the opportunity arises, those who are genuinely in need, I should say, to heal, to provide healing and comfort, whether it's a hug or a handshake or small gestures and even big gestures. For all is possible with you. Nothing is impossible with you, Father. And I just pray according to what you want, and in your holy name, Yod He Vav He, and through the authority, by the authority of your Son, your Mashiach, the Lamb slain before the foundation of the world, Redeemer, our Creator. You are our Creator. Thank you so much. In the name of Yehoshua HaMashiach. Amen. Okay. Right. So let's go back to the newsletter. That was the evening prayer, which is the 6 p.m., which is the 12th hour of the day. So it says here, we should recognize the fact that he is fully and uniquely qualified to manage us with a skill and understanding far surpassing our own. In spite of all this, he does not insist on imposing himself upon us. He does not override our wills. He refuses to rush into our experience by gate crashing his way over our decisions. Having made us in his own likeness, free will agents able to choose as we wish whether or not we shall be his sheep enfolded in his care. It is ultimately up to us. This is a staggering decision facing each individual. The amazing generosity of Mashiach in so approaching us stills our spirits and awes our souls before him. Yet, at the same time, he insists anyone else who attempts to invade my life as an impostor, a counterfeit shepherd, is in truth none other than a thief and a robber, a plunderer of my life who will impoverish and cripple me. The shepherd's entry, number 2. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep, to him the porter openeth. John 10, verses 2 to 3. Because the sheepfold belongs to the shepherd who constructed it, he has the right to use and enter it as he wishes. The sheep who occupy it belong to him. The sheepfold is an integral part of his complete sheep operation. The flock moves in and out through the entrance, either to find security by night or fresh fields for grazing by day. I'm going to try to put this up like a teleprompter. Whenever the shepherd comes to the fold, it is for the benefit of the sheep. Unlike the rustlers or predators who come to raid or rob the livestock within, he always comes with beneficial intentions. The sheep do not fear him. They do not flee in panic or rush about in bewildered confusion, trampling and maiming each other in blind excitement. In fact, some of my most winsome recollections of handling livestock during my long life are wrapped around those poignant moments of watching an owner come to his stock. Some come with gentle calls. They alert the sheep that they are approaching. Others whistle galley as they near the gate. Don't know what that means. So as to set the sheep at ease. Some sheepmen and sheep herders in Africa love to sing soft, plaintive tunes as they come into the corral or sheepfold. All of these approaches are diametrically opposite to the sly, subtle tactics of the predators or prowlers who attempt to pounce on their prey by surprise. They want to catch the sheep off guard and capture them amid their confusion. It is a crafty, cunning part of their plan of attack. And when the shepherd reaches the entrance, it is customary to tap on the gate, or rattle the latch, or knock on the door loud enough so that all within the enclosure are alerted to the fact that he is outside, ready to enter. When we apply this concept to our own lives, we see these striking parallels. So often in our past, we have seen our lives exploited by those who had only their own selfish interests at heart. They were not in the least concerned what happened to us as long as their own insidious, greedy ends were gained. They used and abused their prey to promote their own designs, no matter how much destruction they wrought. By contrast, there is none of this in the Mashiach. Self-giving love and conduct, he comes to us always with peaceable intentions. All through the long and painful history of the human race, we see Elohim coming to willful, wayward men in peace. Always his words of introduction to us are, peace be with you, peace, goodwill toward men. Peace I leave with you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. He does not come to men to plunder or prey upon them. Elohim has never exploited any person. Not once has he extracted anything from anyone for his own ends. There's not even a hint of grasping greed regarding the good shepherd who approaches us only with our best interests in mind. He does not use people for some selfish pleasure of his own. And because he comes to us in generous goodwill, he comes gently and graciously. He is Yahushua HaMashiach, the perfect gentleman. He refuses to force his way into our lives. In his magnanimity, he created us in his own image with free wills, able to act independently in determining our own decisions. He stands outside our lives, entreating us gently to grant him admission. The generosity of such an approach overwhelms us when we pause to reflect that, in truth, he really has every right to enter. The enormous pathos of this appeal by Mashiach to our human hearts is portrayed vividly by the aged and beloved John, writing in the 3rd chapter of Revelation. There, Elohim's Spirit speaks to us. See, I am now standing at the door and knocking. If anyone listens to my voice and opens the door, I will come to him and feast, brackets, share life with him, and he shall feast with me. This man who so entreats us to open our lives to his entrance is none other than Elohim, the very Elohim, the Mashiach, who in the second parable of John 10 declares emphatically, I am the good shepherd. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. He comes to us, anticipating an entrance. He is entitled to enter and has that privilege because he is our rightful owner. This will be explained later in this chapter. There is a gross misunderstanding among many as to what Elohim's intentions may be in expecting entry into our lives. They assume he will make enormous demands upon them which cannot be fulfilled. They imagine they will be deprived of pleasures or practices which will leave them poor people. Beleaguered by such matters, they will be misconceptions, they are reluctant to grant admission. Yes, the opposite is true of the Good Shepherd. He seeks entry to enrich us. He desires to put at our disposal all of his wondrous resources. All of his wondrous resources. He wants to inject an exciting new dimension of dynamic living into our days. He intends to share his very life with us. Out of that life, imparted to me as an individual, can come all the noble qualities of a fine and wholesome life, which are uniquely his. These are made real in me by his presence. They are further transmuted through me to touch other lives, bringing blessing and benefit to those around. And finally, no viewers. It's great. Why then are we still so loath to tell two light men? There are various reasons, of which two far transcend all the others. The first of these is fear. Almost all of us have at some time or other allowed people into our lives who took unfair advantage of us. They have hurt and wounded us. Sometimes they have abused us callously and with great cruelty. We started out trusting them to a degree, and ended up torn and mutilated by the encounter. The end result is that we begin to build high walls of self defense and self preservation around ourselves. We want to protect ourselves from the onslaught of outsiders. If perchance we have been injured repeatedly, we become even more wary, cautious, and unwilling to open ourselves to anyone whom we regard as an intruder. We bluntly warn people, I don't want you in my life. Please stay away. I don't want you interfering in my affairs. Just keep out of my business and mind your own. Live your life and let me live mine. And though we may not say so in actual words, we entertain the same attitude toward Mashiach when he comes to call at the doorway of our hearts, i.e., our wills. We subconsciously attribute to him the same selfish motives and ulterior designs which characterize selfish human beings. This is, of course, unfair to Elohim, but it also demonstrates that we really do not know or understand him, for his thoughts toward us are always good. There's a reference here, Jeremiah 29, verse 11. And the ultimate end he has in mind for me is that my will should be aligned with his, my life moving in harmony with his. Together, sharing in the magnificent plans and purposes he has for his people. To so live is to enter a powerful, positive adventure of selfless giving of ourselves for the good of all. This is the great dynamic of the love of Elohim at work throughout the whole cosmos. It is the divine energy that drives the universe. Yet most of us will not respond to his overtures. We prefer to draw back, to close ourselves off from Mashiach, to withdraw within the closely confining circle of our selfish little lives. There, we feel more secure and self assured. It is comfortable, and we prefer this confinement, even if we are cramped within the constricting walls of our own making and choice. The same is true of the Lord.
The second reason why people will not open up their lives to the Good Shepherd is much more subtle and insidious. It is an integral part for lifelong conditioning and culture to assume that I, me, my are entitled to absolute priority in our thinking, planning, and conduct. From earliest childhood, we insist on having our own way, indulging in our own desires, doing our own thing, going our own way, with our wishes always paramount. We become veritable little kings in our own castles, or even worse, little gods in the temples of our own lives. We resent anyone who dares to enter our domain. You know, how dare you? We even naively assume, at times, we can be the shepherd in our own fold. There is no doubt in our minds that we are entitled to make all our own decisions, no matter how disastrous the consequences. We are sure we can solve all our dilemmas, even though they lead us deeper and deeper into despair. We are determined to run our own lives, even if we run them into the ground, ending up in absolute ruin. In all of this, we are positive no one else can manage our efforts, can manage our affairs, nor control our conduct any better than we can. In pride and self will, we view outsiders, and we included, as intruders, impostors who dare to try and usurp control, and we adamantly refuse them entrance. As I sometimes say to people who take up this fortified position, you have not only erected high walls around your life, you have dug a deep moat outside and drawn up the drawbridge, lest anyone ever come in. In spite of our indifference, our fear, our pride, our determined refusal to let him in, Mashiach is very patient and compassionate with us. He keeps coming, he keeps speaking, he keeps standing at the door, he keeps knocking, he keeps rattling the latch. In the case of a few lives, the door is finally opened. Our Adonai made the unusual comment that it was really the porter, the doorkeeper, who opens the door. And it may well be asked, who is the porter? Who is this one who, for the sake and welfare of the sheep, opens up the sheepfold to the Good Shepherd? He is none other than the gracious Spirit, Elohim himself. It is he who, unbeknown, unbeknownst to us, and long before we are conscious of the presence of Mashiach, comes to us quietly to begin his gentle work within. It is he who gradually prevails upon our spirits to respond. It is he who, even in our willful waywardness, is at work within us, turning us toward the one who stands outside the fold of our lives. It is he who gradually overcomes our fears, our deep subconscious inhibitions toward Mashiach. He is able in his own wondrous way to pulverize our pride, to lead us gently to see the enormous folly of our self-centeredness. He generates within our wills the active faith needed to comply with and respond to the voice of the Good Shepherd. It is then, and only then, that the door is open to Mashiach. It is then that the guard, so to speak, is let down. then the one outside is granted entry. For some, this is an act of great apprehension. It involves a definite movement within the will. Yet, it is Elohim who works within us to will and to do of his good pleasure. In his autobiography, C.S. Lewis tells how he had long resisted the gentle overtures of Mashiach to enter his life. One day, while riding atop a double-decker bus to the zoo in London, he sensed he could no longer keep the Lord Adonai out of his life. By a definite, deliberate act of his will, he literally unfastened the defenses within which he had enclosed himself for so long. Then the presence and the person of Mashiach moved quietly but wondrously into his soul. He was instantly surprised by joy. And this phrase is the title of his book. When Mashiach enters, he brings not only joy, peace, and reassurance to the opened heart, he brings also the divine resources full of love, life, light, and fullness of character, which are uniquely his. These are essential to the new lifestyle he initiates. It is he who assumes control. It is he who begins to manage the sheep. It is he who begins to give direction and purpose to all that happens to them. Of course, it can be asked, is he really entitled to do this? Is he my rightful owner? Does he have the credentials to determine what shall be done with my life? To each of these, the emphatic reply is yes. First of all, we must be reminded that it is he who made us, the amazing intricacy of our bodies, the incredible potential of our minds and memories, the enormous uh, capacities of our own emotions, the unmeasurable impact of our wills, the unplumbed depths of our spirits. Each and all are glorious gifts bestowed upon us in great generosity by Elohim. We did not fashion or form them. They belong rightfully to Him. They are simply entrusted to us for wise use under His direction for the brief duration of our days on earth. Secondly, though all of us in willful, self-centered waywardness have gone our way to do as we want, we are invited to return to Him and to come under His care. To make this possible, He has brought us back with His own life, given in sacrifice for us. So in reality, He has redeemed us, brought us back, made it possible to be accepted again as His own. Thirdly, He continues ever to intercede on our behalf. He suffers in our stead. He entreats us to become holy in His, to become holy and to become wholly His and glad abandon. So it is that on this basis, it is both reasonable and proper that as His own people, the sheep of His pasture, we have every obligation to throw open wide the door of our lives, allowing Him to enter gladly as our Lord, our Shepherd. Shepherd's voice number 3. So much longer here. Still a lot. Wow. This is a long newsletter. I'm gonna I'm gonna lie down and read. Let's see if I can fall asleep. See what happens. Hopefully I don't fall asleep. And the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, and leads them out. John 10:36, or John 10:3. The relationship which rapidly develops between a shepherd and the sheep under his care is to a definite degree dependent on the use of the shepherd's voice. Sheep quickly become accustomed to their owner's particular voice. They are acquainted with its unique tone, the note's peculiar sounds and inflections. They can distinguish it from that of any other person. If a stranger should come among them, they would not recognize nor respond to his voice in the same way they would to that of the shepherd. Even if the visitor should use the same words and phrases as that of the rightful owner, they would not react in the same way. It is a case of becoming actually conditioned to the familiar nuances and personal accent of a shepherd's call. It used to amaze and intrigue visitors to my ranches to discover that my sheep were so indifferent to their voices. Occasionally, I would invite them to call my sheep using the same words and phrases which I habitually employed. But it was to no avail. The ewes and lambs, and even the rams, would simply stand and stare at the newcomers in rather blank bewilderment, as if to say, "Who are you?" This simply because of the period of time sheep come to associate the sound of the shepherd's voice with special benefits. When the shepherd calls to them, it is for a specific purpose that has their own best interests in mind. Or to pass the time away. Or to pass the time away. His voice is used to announce his presence. He is there. It is to allay their fears and timidity, or it is to call them to himself, so they can be examined and counted carefully. He wants to make sure that they are all well, fit, flourishing. Sometimes the voice is used to announce that fresh feed is being supplied, or salt, minerals, or water. We might call them up to lead them into fresh pastures or into some shelter from an approaching storm. He might, or he might be. But always the master's call conveys to the sheep a positive assurance that he cares for them and is acting in their best interests. When my children were young, they saved up their few dollars to purchase their own pet ewes, and it was a delight to watch them go out to the fields and collect their own sheep. Quickly, these ewes came to recognize the voice of their owners. When they were called, they would come running to be given some special little hand out of grain or green grass. They would go, they would be hugged and cuddled and caressed. They would, honestly, they would be hugged and cuddled and caressed with childish delight. It was something which both the sheep and the owners enjoyed. In all of this, the key to the contentment of the sheep lies in recognizing the owner's voice. When the sheep hear that voice, they know it is their master and respond at once. And the response is much more than one of mere recognition. They actually run toward the shepherd. They come to him, for they know he was something good for them. When examining the Christian life, we discover powerful parallels. We find that at some time or other, most of us have heard God's voice. Um, yeah, I'm tired when I say Regina. Okay, most of us have heard God's voice. We knew the Good Shepherd was calling us, or the Lord Himself said so often. And He was here. Oh, no. If any man hear my voice, then certain things would happen. But first, the question may well be asked: how does one hear God's voice? Is it possible for Him to communicate with me? The simple answer is yes, definitely. He may speak to me clearly through His word, whereby He has chosen to articulate Himself. His own gracious Spirit will impress upon my spirit His intentions and purposes for me as a person. We may do this privately in the quiet seclusion of my own home, in the stillness of my devotions. He may, on the other hand, do it through some message spoken from a church pulpit, through a radio broadcast, or a television program. Mashiach may come and speak to me through a devout and godly friend, neighbor, or family member. He may call to me clearly through some magazine, periodical, or book I've read. An ever deepening conviction and awareness that this or that is what I ought to do may come to me. This great I ought to, or I ought not, is the growing compulsion of His inner voice speaking to me in unmistakable accents by His Spirit. So, like a conscience, I think. Jehovah has chosen to articulate Himself also through the splendor and beauty of His created universe. The psalmist portrays this for us in exquisite poetry. Psalm 19, 1 to 4. He also communicates with me clearly through the wondrous character, conduct, and conversation of Mashiach Himself. He, the Word, became flesh and dwelled among us. Through His flawless life, His impeccable character, His one Christian words I can hear only His voice. He asserted boldly, without apology, the words that I speak unto you, they are spirit, they are life. On another occasion He insisted, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man that comes to me comes to the Father but by me. From the foregoing, it is obvious that anyone can hear Elohim's voice. It is possible for us to be reached. But the burning question of communication is, do we hear? By that I mean much more than merely making contact. This was a perpetual point of pain to our master when he was an old man. Over and over his comment was, ears you have, but you hear not. Hearing is much more involved, much more complex than it appears on the surface, and embraces more than just being spoken to by Elohim. It involves three very definite aspects of interaction with him. If in fact, if if in actual fact, Mashiach, the Good Shepherd, has been granted entry into a little fold of my life, then I will have begun to become acquainted with him. familiar with his voice. This then implies that I do recognize his voice. I learned to distinguish it from the many other voices calling to me, and that you can fuse society in a complex world. I come to that awareness where I am alert and attuned to the special attributes of the Shiaks called to me personally. I am like young Samuel also. I am like young Samuel, who, in response to the voice of Elohim, replied, "Speak, Yehovah, for your servant hears." O great shepherd, I am listening. I am attentive. I am waiting for your word to me. I am ready to recognize what you have to say to me. The second aspect to hearing Elohim's voice is that I respond to it. He chooses to communicate with me in order to impress upon me his intentions and desires. He has good intentions toward me. They are in my own best interests, and it is incumbent upon me that I recognize these, take them seriously, and respond accordingly. The instant sheep hear and recognize their shepherd's voice, they lift their heads, turn in the direction from which the sound comes, and cock their ears to catch every syllable, whether resting, feeding, or fighting. Everyone else is going to say sleeping. Everything else is forgotten for the moment because they have heard their owner's call. It commands their full and undivided attention. Something new and different is about to happen. Okay, leave it there for a bit. Okay, almost there. I'm gonna just split this into 3 videos. Just take a quick power nap. I feel like I'm falling asleep, so you know what? I'm gonna just start a new video because that's a good place to break it off there. It's not even an hour.